Mogul Motivation, educating and empowering entrepreneurs 1 week at a time. Presented by True Stories Media. And I am your host, Antoine Twiz Taylor. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Mogul Motivation. Welcome back. I'm happy that you are here. If this is your first time listening, this podcast is for the aspiring entrepreneur who is trying to get over that hump and make it happen. This podcast is for anybody with a dream that wants to aspire higher and accomplish that dream. You can find this podcast on multiple platforms: Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. The hour is late. I made a vow to all of my subscribers and listeners that every Wednesday, as long as I can physically help it, I will drop a episode on Wednesday. And this is going to be the late show because I was out of town. We just got back in town earlier today. And in my procrastination and failure to plan, I forgot to record the episode before we left because there was so much going on. And nevertheless, here I am now recording at 6:46 p.m. Central Standard Time, Mogul Motivation. But I just say all that to say is, you're going to make mistakes. It's going to happen. You can't beat yourself up. You just have to figure out solutions to make things happen after the problem arises. And that's what I had to do. That's what I told myself I was going to do. And that's what I'm doing now. So the late show. Let's talk about the late show. Society tells you that by a certain age, you should have a home. You should be married. You should have children. You should have visited X amount of countries. You should have X amount of money in your bank account. You should have all of these assets. Society tells you these things. Social media reaffirms these things. It makes us feel like we're lacking when we see people our age or people younger than us accomplishing things that we haven't accomplished yet or that we think we can never accomplish. It makes us feel inadequate to see an 18-year-old driving a Mercedes-Benz or a Bentley or a Rolls-Royce and you're still driving a Toyota. And that's no shade to Toyota, but Toyota compared to a Rolls-Royce is a huge difference, right? So when you see someone younger than yourself driving something like that, living the life, traveling all over the world, flashing money, eating at these fancy restaurants, it makes you feel like you're lacking because society and social media puts clocks on us. And we already have clocks from the moment we're born. No one is going to live forever. I'm not going to live forever. You're not going to live forever. But we all are born with limited time. Eventually, we're going to pass on from this place and go to the spiritual realm. None of us can escape that. So we already have a clock. But within that clock, we give ourselves another clock to say, I need to be married by 30. I need to have a house by 28. I need to be a millionaire by 32. I told myself I was going to be a millionaire by the age of 30. I'm 32 going on 33. I'm still nowhere near being a millionaire, but I will be. But the point is, we put internal clocks on ourselves on top of the biological clocks we're already dealing with, that we're already racing against. It's society and social media that does this, the late show. So therefore, since we have these clocks that we put on ourselves, these timers, we think we're late. So when you do accomplish these things, when you finally purchase your house, even though you purchased it at the age of 29, you think you're late because your friends and everyone you went to high school with and college with bought their houses already. You think you're late when you finally paid off your car note, despite the fact that everybody else is on their third, fourth car and they say they paid them off, they paid off their student loans. You think you're late now because of those internal clocks that you put on yourself. And it's madness that we do this to ourselves because you're not late because of society and social media standards. Society and social media standards don't exist. They're fairy tales. They're fantasies. They're Disney movies. They don't exist. They're not real. Those limits, those clocks that you put on yourself because social media tells you need to be married with children by the age of 25, you're not late just because you didn't get married until you were 33 and now you're having your first child. It's a blessing. It's not late. But I'm going to tell you what is late. What's late is when you ignore yourself. You're not late because you didn't achieve things at a certain age or a certain time frame because social media and society told you should have. You're late because you don't listen to yourself. Yourself told you that you wanted to buy a house 10 years ago and you ignored it until now. You're late because you're finally listening to yourself. That's why you're late, because you ignored your first thoughts, your gut that told you you wanted to be successful when you was a child, that told you you wanted to do X, Y, and Z years ago, but you were late because you didn't believe in yourself, and you didn't think you were smart enough, you didn't think you had enough resources, and you didn't think you can make it happen. That's why you're late. Not because of what society says, but because of you ignoring what you told yourself years ago. That's why you're late. But the good news is this. Even though you're late because you didn't listen to your first mind, even though you're late because you didn't listen to your gut, you still showed up. It's better to show up than to never show up at all. So it's okay if you're late. Yeah, you know, your first mind, your gut told you years ago that you want to start this business, that you want to get that degree, that you want to do X, Y, and Z, but you didn't do it. You ignored it, and then finally you gained the confidence and you did it. So yes, you're late because you could have been did that years ago, but you still showed up. That's all that matters in the first place. When it comes to dream chasing, when it comes to entrepreneurship, when it comes to chasing goals, all that matters is you still show up. People are late to work every day. People are late to school every day. People are late to appointments every day, but they still show up. If you can be on time, it's great. If you can listen to your first mind, if you can listen to your gut, it's great. But even if you didn't, even if you're late, you still showed up and you still executed and you still made it happen. Despite what social media made you think, despite what society tries to make you think, and despite the fact you didn't listen to your gut and you didn't listen to your first mind, you still showed up. So that's my message, ladies and gentlemen. Let's continue to work. Let's continue to imagine reality. If you're late, it's okay, because at least you still showed up in the process. At least you still executed. If this podcast has benefited you in any way, shape, or form, I ask for two things as always. Number one, please leave a 5-star review. And number two, pass it on to a friend who may benefit from it as well. Have a great day, everyone. I'll talk to you next week. Have a great night, I should say, because it's the late show. I'll talk to you next week.